Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. This week we're discussing the jurisdiction of the family and how to protect it. Last 2 days we've really talked about inflation and how that affects particularly the middle and lower income families, and that is devastating to those families. Now, another way to protect our families is through creating the ability for home purchase. Now, with this, Romans 13:4, the first part of it says, "For he is God's minister to you for good." Talking about government officials, he's God's minister to you for good. That is God's intention for them to be that. Now, if you go back to the Old Testament, when God brought Israel into the land, he gave them all an inheritance. They, all except for the Levites, they received land, they were able to build homes thereon, and then every 50 years they had the year of Jubilee. The year of Jubilee. And at that point, if they had lost their land, if they had lost their home, they were restored to it automatically. You see, if you would, God instituted a program into Israel where everyone could be a homeowner. And at that point, there is a thing about owning your own place, having your own home. And you see, there is so much today that is moving us away from ownership. And you're going to see this happening more and more. I was in a conference probably 10 years ago, and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm seeing more and more traits of it. But that your car, and it's already happening in some of the major cities, your car will no longer be a purchase that you make. It will be a subscription service. And that you have your subscription, you pay X amount for your subscription, and you get to have your choice of these things. So many days you could have a sports car, so many days you could have a truck or a van. There will be allocations for those things, but you actually don't own it. You won't have the maintenance, and you won't have the repair and the upkeep. And so some of those things are positives that you would look at and go, that'd be nice. I'd like to I'll pay my subscription, you take care of everything. So some of those things are going to sell. But renting is basically a subscription service. And the bottom line is, at that point, as a renter, you don't end up owning it. Now, here's the thing. I do understand we're especially in a time where home ownership, with all costs factored in, is higher than rent. That is an exception, because typically the rents are higher than the ownership, because that's how the person renting the property makes money. But it's a little different dynamic right now that's going on. It's very, very unique economically for us today. But there needs to be things that create that possibility for home ownership, equity, building up, generational wealth. And that's a term we will get into. Generational wealth, and understanding what generational wealth is one of the biggest things that can help families. But the bottom line is, that's not being taught in our schools. That's not being taught to your average person. So the bottom line is, they're suffering, if you would, at the hands of those who understand generational wealth. We have to understand generational wealth. And one of the biggest ways that it starts was with home ownership. That has to be encouraged to help the family. God bless you. Join us again tomorrow.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.